In October 1922, Rome stood on the edge of transformation. Benito Mussolini's paramilitary force, the infamous Blackshirts, marched into the Eternal City, forever altering the course of history. But their story didn't end with the March on Rome. Like shadows stalking Italy's streets, the Blackshirts became Mussolini's iron fist. Union halls were shattered, socialist newspapers burned to ashes, and voices of dissent were crushed under a rain of fear and violence. Ordinary citizens weren't exempt from their wrath. Many were dragged from their homes in the dead of night, beaten or silenced in public displays of brutality. The Blackshirts weren't just enforcers of Mussolini's will, they were the architects of fear, methodically building the foundation for his dictatorship. In the bleak aftermath of the First World War, Italy stood at a crossroads of despair and chaos. Unemployment surged, inflation spiraled out of control, and political unrest gripped the nation. In this crucible of hardship, a dark force emerged, the Blackshirts. They were the paramilitary arm of Benito Mussolini's Fascist Party. They were born out of the Squadrismo movement, a wave of violent nationalist squads who crushed socialist, communist, and labor movements in post-war Italy. To understand the Blackshirts' ascent, we must first examine Italy of 1919. War had left the country economically crippled and socially fractured. Veterans returned to find no jobs, riots filled the streets, and strikes disrupted industries. Political factions, especially socialists and nationalists, fought violently for control of Italy's future. Amid this chaos, a man with grand ambitions emerged, Benito Mussolini.
E vinceremo!
A former socialist turned nationalist, Mussolini founded the Fascist Combattimento in 1919. It was a movement rooted in radical nationalism, militarism, and anti-socialism. But ideas alone weren't enough. Mussolini needed muscle. That's where the Blackshirts came in. Initially made up of disillusioned war veterans and young nationalists, the Blackshirts were Mussolini's private army. They became infamous for their brutality, attacking trade unionists, socialists, and even journalists. Their black uniforms, synchronized marches, and aggressive chants were designed to intimidate. They believed Italy needed cleansing through violence to restore its former glory, harkening back to the Roman Empire. The defining moment for the Blackshirts came in October 1922 with the March on Rome. Tens of thousands of Blackshirts, though disorganized, marched across Italy toward the capital in a show of force. King Victor Emmanuel III, fearing civil war, refused to deploy the military against them. Instead, he handed power to Mussolini, marking the start of fascist rule. It was a bloodless coup that cemented the Blackshirts' role as both enforcers and symbols of fascist strength. Once Mussolini became Prime Minister, the Blackshirts evolved. They were formally organized into the Voluntary Militia for National Security in 1923. Their new role? To suppress dissent, enforce fascist policies, and ensure Mussolini's grip on power. The founding of the Blackshirts is closely tied to key figures of Italian fascism, including Emilio Di Bono, Italo Balbo, and Cesare Maria di Vecchio. Benito Mussolini, of course, was the driving force behind their establishment and ideology. Abroad, their violence escalated. In Ethiopia, they committed atrocities during Italy's imperialist campaign, using chemical weapons and targeting civilians. In Libya, they brutally suppressed local resistance, employing concentration camps and forced relocations. As Italy's fortunes waned during World War II, so did the Blackshirts. Their effectiveness in combat was questionable, and their reputation for brutality alienated even their supporters. By 1943, Mussolini was overthrown, and the Blackshirts were dismantled.